Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
The Stock Movers Podcast, your roundup of companies making moves in the stock market, harnessing the power of Bloomberg data.
Let's take a look at some stocks on the move this past week. With us to do that is Bloomberg News cross-asset reporter Emily Graffeo here in studio. Emily, so let's talk about it. Broadcom.
Broadcom was one of the worst performers in the S&P 500 on the week. It's also having a 5-day losing streak, which is the longest of the year. This is in part a story about risk assets falling this week after there's uncertainty about the economy, the direction of inflation. We had bad economic data. Broadcom is a chip company, so this is also a company that gets a lot of its revenue from China. In 2024, it got almost as much revenue from all of the U.S. than China. So while it had more in the U.S., but China was kind of right up there in terms of where it gets its revenue. So it could be exposed to more of Trump's tariffs. But overall, tech is really getting battered this week, and Broadcom was one of the biggest losers of that trade.
This is crazy because you have to go back to a few months ago, and it was Broadcom's earnings report that caused shares in just a matter of a couple weeks to move more than 50% higher. That was back in December.
Yeah.
You now are back to levels seen almost before that report came out. It's down 32% since then.
Right. Yeah. It hit the lowest level since December 3rd, today.
That's crazy.
And we know, right, this past week, we did see foreign officials, major tech companies pushing the Trump administration to kind of rethink some of those chip curbs, especially those who make AI chips. So, you know, the industry understands like the impact, right? We're seeing it play out on companies, specifically in the industry overall.
And the questions on spending on AI too.
Fair.
That would weigh on a company like Broadcom.
I totally agree. All right, so let's get to Tesla. Interesting week for this one.
Okay, so Tesla, I have to admit, I was at a conference earlier this week. I was at the Exchange ETF conference.
In Las Vegas.
Yeah,
I heard there was like some nice dinners, some nice drinks, some nice gambling. Was there any working?
Yes, there was a lot of working, Tim. There was a lot of networking. I mean, a lot of networking happens
over drinks and meals,
and over dinner. And we can't help that we're in Las Vegas and there's a casino right there.
Okay.
But anyway, I noticed that there were a lot of headlines on Tesla and tariffs, and I wasn't really following it, but you look at it on the week, it's up on the week. Tesla's actually one of the best performers in the S&P 500 on the week, even though it did fall quite a bit earlier in the week. I guess the story here is that out of all of the automakers, because Tesla manufactures in the U.S., they're a little bit more shielded from the tariffs.
Oh, yeah. So Tesla's
these other autos.
Yeah, Tesla's got factories all over the world. But the thing is the factories here in the U.S., which are in Fremont, California and Austin, Texas, they build cars that are meant for the U.S. The factories in China and the factory in Germany, those are for other markets. So they're not getting hit with tariffs. But Elon Musk, as Carol pointed out earlier this week, did say that some parts of theirs will be affected by auto tariffs. But you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like almost a pure play American company.
He said Musk tweeted or made a post on X. Tesla's not unscathed. The tariff impact on Tesla is still significant. But I mean, when you compare it to GM and Ford, and it was interesting, if you look at the drop in Tesla, at least on the day, so today, Friday, lost $30 billion. That's almost the market cap of Ford and GM.
Wow.
So like it lost a Ford, and that is just how much bigger Tesla is compared to the other.
You know, we say
car
that a lot,
companies.
but every time we do it, it just reminds you how much the auto area has been kind of upended as a result of Elon Musk. It's pretty staggering.
Yeah. So the market cap of Ford, $38 billion, and Tesla lost about $30 billion on Friday.
Will you explain what happened with Wolfspeed today?
I will try. As a markets reporter, it caught my eye. I, to be honest, had not heard of this company before. They are a tech company.
Chips.
The stock fell over 50%, which is just absolutely wild. We did have a story on Bloomberg that they were struggling to reach a deal with investors to refinance their convertible bonds. I'm just going to read the line. So their shares closed at $2.59 Friday after sinking over 50%. A conversion to equity would be unlikely unless the price reaches $47, which just doesn't really look like that's going to happen. They also named a new CEO on Thursday. But again, from my angle, I just look at this. My first thought was, wow, if you were short this stock, you must have made a lot of money. And that is what the data from S3 Partners said. Paper profits of about $122 million on the stock's drop if you were short, at least on Friday for Wolfspeed.
Interesting week for some of these names. Great to check in with you. Emily Graffeo, cross-asset reporter at Bloomberg.
The Stock Movers Podcast from Bloomberg Radio. Check back with us throughout the day for the latest roundup of companies making news on Wall Street. And for the latest market-moving headlines, listen to Bloomberg Radio live. Catch us on YouTube, Bloomberg.com, and on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto with the Bloomberg Business app.